Young Dagestanis have got a new swagger in their step. Something is restoring pride and hope to people in this downtrodden part of Russia. It's football. The local team Anzhi Makhachkala is being plucked from obscurity and thrust into the international spotlight. Global stars line the town's streets, inspiring people here to dream. But Dagestan is now the epicenter of an Islamist insurgency. Militants fight for an Islamic state across the North Caucasus. Russian soldiers have spent 2 decades battling this rebellion in the Muslim south. Bombings and assassinations happen virtually every day. Terror attacks emanating from here have reached the heart of Moscow. Most Russians are too terrified to come to Dagestan, but tonight the premier Moscow club CSKA is in town to play the resurgent star-studded home side. Cameroonian striker Samuel Eto'o has just signed to Anzhi for a reported cool $30 million a year, making him the world's best-paid player. Brazilian legend Roberto Carlos is player-manager. The fans cheer on the team. And 4 minutes in, Eto'o scores. The crowd goes wild.
It's just the kind of morale booster that's needed in this volatile and very violent republic. And those that have poured millions into this team must hope that it's money well spent.
But who is paying for this? It's a local boy turned billionaire. He's called Suleiman Karimov, and he's the one bankrolling this football fantasy. The reclusive yacht-owning oligarch is rumoured to have had his epiphany when his Ferrari crashed on the Côte d'Azur in 2006. After cheating death, he decided to invest in his embattled homeland. But what do fans think of Karimov's global shopping spree in a place where most people are lucky to earn £250 a month?
It's his money. He can do what he likes with it. And everything he is doing is for Dagestan, to support our republic.
This helps to distract people from terrorism. It's not just about football. Everything's connected.
The ecstasy wears off. The Moscow side equalise and then score another 4 goals. As the mood sours, I discover that Karimov's Anzhi project is not without its critics. I spot a banner berating fans for ignoring Islamic principles. The men next to it subscribe to a growing and militant Islam here in Dagestan called Salafism.
Good footballers are coming to our republic, and that's nice. But we don't want football to be some kind of new religion. We, the Islamic youth, don't like it.
Our republic is the poorest part of the Russian Federation, but 20 million is spent per year on one player. It's like watching gladiators in ancient Rome when the people were starving. Our people are hungry, they are being killed, and we're in the middle of a civil war, and yet they just sit and watch this spectacle.
You don't have to stray far from the football to see what this man means. Just around the corner from the stadium, I'm being shown the site of the latest bomb blast. First, a device exploded outside a shop selling alcohol. Then there was a second, much more powerful blast, timed to coincide with the arrival of the emergency services. 1 policeman and a child were killed. 60 were wounded. My guide is a counter-terrorist officer I met at the football match, but he doesn't want to show his face. Government officials and police are the main targets of the militants.
Many of our colleagues die on duty. Many mothers have lost sons and wives have lost husbands, children, their fathers. There are losses, but what can we do? We have to fight this battle to the end.
This building is the centre of the fight against extremism, and it's extraordinary that we're being given a chance to go inside and talk to the people who work here about their job.
I ask my guide whether things are improving.
Положение не улучшается.
Положение, видите, она не улучшается.
Unfortunately, it's not getting any better. They've become more brutal and more cynical. They're just people who'll do anything. They've been sucked into the swamp and they can't get out.
Another officer shows me a recent example of this brutality.
The story of this man is particularly shocking. His father was a local police chief who was shot dead. Then, when his wife, his sister and his daughter went to put flowers on the freshly dug grave, they were blown up. The last remaining member of the family was Ruslan Magomedov, and he was killed too, not long afterwards.
Billionaire Angie owner Suleiman Karimov believes creating jobs and improving lives are the best ways to fight the insurgency. This is the promo for one of his projects, a brand new city. His right-hand man, Hizri Abakarov, is showing me this stadium, part of his employment strategy. Karimov is also finalising plans for yet another, even bigger stadium for potential use in Russia's 2018 World Cup.
Football was just a starting point. What's going on here is very bad. But if there were jobs, that would already be something. If I had no way out, no job, no food and a family to feed, I might take up arms too.
I tell him that it seems to me Karimov is doing more than the government here.
Indeed he is. Everybody knows he's doing more than the government. Take this stadium. It was originally a government project and a huge amount of money was provided, but nothing was done. Now Suleiman's bought it and it's being built properly, but the public funds were just stolen. That's what happens here.
Sickened by entrenched corruption, more and more people are drawn to new ideas and are rejecting the mainstream. Football is no exception. The Salafi League has 32 teams playing every Sunday morning, and their coordinator, Ahmad Magomed Kamilov, is dismissive of Karimov's money-driven model.
I don't like their slogan that we're the territory of Angie. We live in the territory of Dagestan, which I would like to be the territory of Islam.
Salafis follow a strict brand of Islam imported from Saudi Arabia. They believe traditional Sufi Muslims are tainted by their ties to the authorities and their support for a secular state. Ahmad tells me the Salafis' dream is a new social order in Dagestan, one built on Sharia law.
If we see a brother kissing a woman or drinking, we discreetly remind him of where he lives.
I ask him how people react.
Generally, people react well. Believe me, if we had our way, you wouldn't be able to buy alcohol or tobacco here. And you would never find women who walk around uncovered like you.
What does he think about the people who take up arms for the cause?
These people have chosen a certain path and will answer for what they do. If they are right, then there awaits them enormous prizes, hundreds of times greater than mine. But I swear to Allah, I do not condemn them.
This kind of talk alarms the authorities and sometimes leads to heavy-handed responses from the security services. The consequences can be deadly. I've come to investigate an incident in the village of Sovietskoye, 3 hours from Makhachkala. Few people have jobs here and prospects are bleak. This mosque had begun to attract a new crowd of young believers, Salafis. In May, during Friday prayers, the building was surrounded by armed security forces. Plainclothes officers in muddy boots burst in and arrested 150 worshippers, including 15 schoolboys. Saeed Gerikhanov, the young Salafi imam, shows me evidence of abuse. The men and boys were all taken to a police station where they were beaten, and some had their hair torn out and their beards shaved off. Saeed says the village teachers appeared to be complicit.
The police summoned the headmaster and his deputy to the station. Those teachers saw the badly bruised young men and they heard shouts and screams. They knew perfectly well what was going on. The teachers called them dogs for going to the mosque.
The headmaster Sadikullah Ahmedov was a sworn enemy of the Salafis. At this heated public meeting immediately after the mosque invasion, he claimed the young radicals would soon impose Sharia law on the village and force all the women to wear veils. He denounced a reign of terror in which pro-secular teachers like him had been murdered. Little did he suspect that he would become the next target. I head for the school and find a biology teacher who agrees to tell me what happened to his boss on the night of July the 9th.
They shot him in his home at point-blank range in the face. His wife and son were watching TV. Who did it and why? Nobody knows.
The situation here is still very tense. Back at the mosque, Saeed tells me he's sure the radical underground killed the school head.
We don't think murdering people is the way to solve problems. That's not the way to bring about justice. It just makes things worse. This war has been going on for 20 years.
But with increasing numbers of young men from villages like these taking up arms, it seems that the very lawlessness of the authorities is feeding this insurgency. And it will take a lot more than football stars and Karimov's billions to cure the ills in this deeply divided society.